Progress.
Please start collecting.
Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Kalayar Silangu, a certified corporate trainer and a post consultant. Welcome to Leaders Connect 360 Foundation's episode LC0218. Leaders Connect 360 Foundation is a non-profit organization aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our mission is to invite 1,000 plus leaders and create a million leaders. Every Wednesday, we come together from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. IST on Zoom, live to gain insights from top management leaders and last week of the month from authors. And once every quarter, we take it offline in different cities to network, support, and grow together. Because at Leaders Connect 360, we strongly believe that leaders create more leaders. Before we kickstart the episode, a quick reminder to everyone. Please keep your videos on for an engaging experience. And first-time visitors, check out the WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn links in the chat box to stay connected and grow with us. This episode is being recorded for our community archives. Now, let's set the energy high. If you're excited and ready for an impactful session, drop a thumbs up or smiley in the chat. Nice. Thank you, Arul. Thank you so much. Fantastic. And before we go, let me introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Suresh, ex-head talent acquisition, India Genesys. Let me also introduce Mr. Pankaj, managing director, Bija Training, who will be interacting with our panel discussion leader, Ms. Shivaleela Annamalai, transformation catalyst and mindset and manifestation coach. Thank you so much. Let's get into the session.
Thank you so much, Kalai. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Bija Training, the Master Leadership and Leaders Connect. Thank you so much for a wonderful cut and raiser, Ms. Kalai. And I welcome Mr. Suresh to this forum for Leaders Connect and Ms. Shivaleela. So today we are going to have this episode LC0218, right? And that is where we have been consistently doing it. So once again, thanks to all the visitors, all the leaders who have been part of this. And thank you so much, Sureshji, for joining in today. Thank you so much. So I believe the topic itself is also very interesting, right? Persuasive presentations. So let's see what we are going to learn today from our guest, Mr. Suresh. And before we move forward, I would like to welcome you formally through an official welcome video. So can we have the official welcome video for our guest, Mr. Suresh, and our panel discussion leader, Ms. Shivaleela? Arul, can we have the video, please? Thank you so much, Arul. And here I welcome you both to the forum. So now it's over to you, Ms. Shivaleela, to have a panel discussion with our guest, Mr. Suresh. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pankaj, for that introduction, and thank you, Arul, for that video. This is Shivaleela here. I'm a mindset and manifestation coach and a corporate leadership skills trainer. I think the video is already said enough, so I don't want to go ahead with that again. Can we guys just turn on our all of us? Can we turn on our videos? And can you all just unmute for a few seconds, please? All of you. Okay,
Yes.
just for a few seconds, if you can unmute. So, good evening, everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Can we have a little bit more energy?
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Everybody. Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Now, yeah, I think that is like a tonic and it fuels, it acts as a fuel, for the rest of the few minutes. So, a big good evening to you, Mr. Suresh. I've actually been in a session today and I just came running home because I wanted to ensure I'm here on time to be able to turn on the video and talk to you. So we have a couple of questions for you. As a team, there are a couple of questions that we really want to learn from you. So we're really happy to have you on board. Can I go ahead and shoot the questions for you?
Absolutely, Shivaleela. And before we start off, thanks for having me here. I look forward to the session.
Pleasure is ours. Thank you so much. Okay, so now you need to tell us, all of us know presentations are very important in life. Okay, in corporate lives, we all know presentations are important. And the degree of the presentation of any topic varies according to each person. Now, what do you think makes a presentation very persuasive? Our topic today is persuasive presentation. So, what do you think makes a presentation very persuasive and not just informative? There is a huge difference between persuasive and informative, right? So, how do you think you can make it persuasive?
Absolutely. If you talk to any sales guy or any salesperson per se, you can actually understand the importance of story, right? Any presentation, a presentation can be of many forms. When we talk about presentation, we typically talk about PowerPoint presentations, but presentation could be any pitch. It could be talking to your stakeholders, it could be talking to your boss for an appraisal, or it could be talking to your team members. So any form of communication is a presentation for us, right? And a presentation is very important because the idea of presentation is about taking the audience from a point A to point B. So when we talk about point A, what is point A? Point A is basically a space where people are, either having doubts about what you want to talk, they have curiosity, or absolutely in some cases it's just apathy and disinterest. You have to take the set of audience who are in point A to point B, which is basically creating an excitement, making them believe in what you are telling as a story, or just bring them into action, right? If you're actually making a presentation to your leadership team asking for more money, the action is at the end of the presentation, they're convinced enough that they want to give you money. So idea of presentation is moving from point A to point B. And presentations are very, very important because it connects to people, right? Information, anybody can probably read newspaper or any news article and they can get information, but that doesn't excite people. So any presentation should actually have enough information, but information has to be packaged in a way that it is persuasive for people to act on it. End of the presentation, if I am sitting in this presentation or any presentation for the matter of fact, I should feel excited. I should actually feel, I'm going to do something. If my company is talking about the vision, the CEO is not actually being very persuasive, what interest will I have towards the company's vision? So information is important, but how do you kind of package the information and make it persuasive is even more important than the information itself.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so beautifully said. I love this point of, from point A to point B. That made so much sense. And also the fact that we don't need to always present the facts that's there online because they have Google for that. They don't need us. So if we are going to be there, it has to be in some way where we connect with them. Basically, that connect has to be there from what you said. Thank you so much. I just love that. And the next question, what I want to ask you is, how important do you think storytelling is to convince the audience during a presentation? Is storytelling really needed? First question. Second is, if you think it's needed, how important do you think it is?
Okay. So in my experience, I come from a sales background and I've transitioned into talent acquisition 15 years ago. A lot of people, when we talk about storytelling, they feel storytelling is the icing on the cake. But to me, storytelling is the cake. If you don't actually have a storytelling, there is no message for you to probably give it to your audience, right? How many of you would like to probably be sitting in a session, waiting for it to, end? We must be sometimes praying for the session to end because it's so boring. Because if you have so much of information and you don't package it in a way that the audience is accepting that information, that session is going to be a waste, right? And from the videos I see, a lot of us are probably 80s and 90s kids, so I'll probably refer to some of the ads that we still remember deeply, right? How many of us remember the dairy milk ad? How many of us remember the pulsar ad? How many of us
Oh,
remember the Fevicol ad where that
got it.
elderly uncle puts? And then for the latest generation, we talk about ads from Cred and a lot of other companies, right? What makes these ads so everlasting and memorable for us? It's not just the products, right? They're not talking about a Fevicol or a dairy milk or a pulsar. It's about how they package that entire product narrative and create a story around it. So similarly, any presentation, if it doesn't carry story, it's not going to sell to the audience that you're presenting it to. And the audience can be anybody, right? In my case, during office hours, it's my business stakeholders. Sometimes at home, it is my daughter. She's 10 years old, and I have to package the story in a way that it becomes acceptable for her. Let's take a live example of what story can be and how story can be very important. Most of us remember the iconic launch of iPhone by Apple, right? Now
Yeah.
let's imagine for a day how many phones Apple would have sold if Steve Jobs started that entire session by saying, "Hey, Apple is launching a new phone. This is a specification." Instead of saying, "Today Apple is reinventing the phone." I think persuasiveness and storytelling is very important because if you can't get to the mind of your audience, you're never going to convince them in whatever you want them to do. And the expectations of the presenter from the audience could be very diverse, right? It could be acceptance to a project that you're doing. It could be a sales pitch that you're making to a client, or it could be a sales pitch you're making to your own stakeholders, or it could be even convincing that you have a vision that you want your team to kind of come along with. So if you're not able to package it in a story, then I think it's going to be a waste of time for you. More importantly, to the audience who's going to sit and listen to you because they don't understand what it is. And a lot of times stories don't have a takeaway for the audience. So it's very important to build the story in a way that, end of this presentation or session, there is a takeaway for the audience for them to kind of lean back to. Otherwise, my time or anybody who's sitting in the audience will feel that their time is wasted.
Oh, beautiful. So it's like a door closed. The story is the storytelling doesn't take place, and if it's not good, it's like a door closed.
Exactly.
So
It's like watching a movie without a climax, right? So what is my takeaway for the movie?
right, yeah, everybody want that what's in it for me, right, at the end of
Correct.
every presentation. So I think what you're saying is for the storytelling, apart from the product that you're trying to convince somebody with, you have to have a good story with it, with its message. A message is important as well, and also some emotions that they connect with, right, in the story.
Exactly. And I'd probably elaborate a little more in terms of how this story gets built through the words of Simon Sinek, right? Most of us know Simon Sinek. And he talks about why, right? So exactly the Apple iPhone is a prime example of why. Because Apple didn't come out and say, what, I'm going to launch a phone. Apple came out and said, I'm going to reinvent the phone. So I think setting the right narrative around the product or any solution that you're selling or solution that you're presenting to the leaders or to the audience, it's important for them to have a story around it. They need to know why this is being done. What comes later, how comes later, but why is very important. If I can't connect with the why, what and how becomes immaterial for me.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, and now what do you think are the common mistakes or the common errors people do in a presentation, which reduces the impact of the presentation?
There are a lot of mistakes, Shivaleela, that people do. In fact, I've learned by trial and error, and I've learned and burnt my fingers by doing wrong things. But I'll probably call out a few things that I've seen that people make mistakes, which actually reduces impact. First thing is making a presentation look like a quarterly financial balance sheet, right? So the presentation has a whole lot of numbers. whole lot of words, sentences all put together, facts put together. That makes the presentation very, very boring. Second thing is, it lacks clarity. So when I look at a presentation, the presentation is very haphazard in nature. In the first slide talks about vision, second slide talks about solution, a third slide talks about something else, and there is no connectivity in the entire, presentation. So for me, watching a good presentation feels like I'm watching a nice teleseries episode 1, episode 2. But a bad presentation to me looks like a new episode every slide. So very important is to have that clarity in terms of what we are presenting. And most importantly, what we make as a error in a presentation is we design presentation for ourselves. We totally forget what the audience really wants. I'm going to create a presentation with 50 slides in it, beautiful numbers, great visuals in it. But is that what really audience wants from presentation? Is that the takeaway that the audience is looking at? So 3 critical errors we make is make the presentation look very, very number driven without any visuals or anything that really connects to the audience. Second is having no clarity or takeaways that we present to the audience, not just the end of the presentation. At every slide, they need to have a takeaway. We need to build a takeaway to every slide. And third, most importantly, designing a presentation on what we want instead of what the audience really needs. So these are 3 big takeaways among a lot of mistakes that people do when it comes to making mistakes during a presentation.
Okay, beautiful. And now that reminds me of what would you say would be an ideal number of slides to have in a presentation? Because we know we're talking about less slides, 35, 40, 45 slides. I know it's too much. What do you think? Like 7, 8, some people say 10 to 15. What's an ideal number?
I'd probably put it anywhere between 10 to 12 slides should be good enough, and lesser the better. If you can convey your story in a single slide, nothing like it. But again, if you're doing a corporate presentation, if you're doing a presentation to your business leaders or your potential clients or existing clients, you need to have some data, right? You cannot just go and make it look very beautiful with colors, visual photos, and GIFs and everything. So ideally, about 10 to 12, 10 to 13 slides is good. I've personally seen cases where we must have to present about 30, 40, 50 slides in it. But what I do is I make it a point to have slides at about 10 to 12 as the main slides. Then we have annexures. Anybody who's interested, they can always go to refer to the annexures. So that way, we're not taking everybody's interest or time. Because I might be interested in a particular data set for slide 3. Shivaleela, you might be interested in data set for slide 5. But having those data set right after those slides will make it very boring for others. So present the content in a holistic way, build annexures, and make references to those annexures. So anybody who wants, they can always go back and refer to those annexures for that more in-depth data or details that they're looking at.
That makes a lot of sense. And when you say storytelling, see, there are different kinds of stories that you can say, either of people who've already established themselves, celebrities or whatever, or your personal life stories. Which of it do you think is a red flag, and which of it do you think is okay to be shared? You can say a green flag, or it's just okay to be shared.
Okay, so I'll probably start with the red flag. It's easy to answer because people have not achieved anything in life. If they say I did it, that's going to be a red flag, right? Because they don't have any demonstrable, success that they can show. So instead of making the presentation about I, talk about use cases. Talk about people who have achieved something by using that particular idea. Instead of saying I did this, if you say I have seen successful people doing it, the impact is better because you're not trying to make the presentation all about yourself. You're talking about observations of learnings that you had from successful people in life. But if somebody is very successful, if somebody like Elon Musk and comes and says, I did this, you got to accept it because he has a proven track record. So it again depends what success ladder that you stand in your career or in your personal life. And do people really recognize you as an SME or an expert in that area that you are trying to call it out as an expertise of yours? If you have an expertise, then you have all the rights to say I've done this. This is the learning I have. Otherwise, use a third-party reference. Refer to some people who are well connected to the community or people who can recognize them easily, and talk about those stories using them. So that's a green flag. Red flag is all about making the presentation about me.
Okay, so that being an SME in that area is like, I think, a huge point over there.
Yeah,
That adds a lot of
exactly. And more importantly, people recognizing you as an SME in that area is important. I
important.
may think I'm an SME, but if the other person doesn't recognize me as an
Yeah.
SME, then the context
Makes a
is
lot
lost.
of sense. Yeah, you just highlighted that. Not enough we being an SME, but other people also have to recognize you as an SME in that. Whole lot of sense in it. Okay. And how do you think we can handle tough questions, objections, anything during a presentation? Any presentation is bound to have questions. So how do you handle tough questions, tough audience?
Okay, so I look at tough questions or very interesting questions as in two ways. One, either the audience is very engaged, or my presentation lacks strength or
Strength.
material, so that they come up with a lot of questions. While it's important to have these questions answered, it's also important to have a kind of a process behind the madness, because imagine at everything that you discuss or present with a lot of passion, people start questioning you, stop you, and then that kills the flow of the presentation. The first thing I've learned through experience is to have certain, kind of guardrails, or set some processes in place, or set expectations at the start of the presentation. Depending on your audience and the the complexity of the content that you're presenting, you can either decide if you want to have questions answered end of every slide, or you can probably allocate a Q&A session end of it so you can cover all the questions together. So when you set up this as a kind of a rule, or some kind of a way of approaching the questions, you can limit the interruptions during a presentation. That is one. And second most important thing is, when people get asked tough questions or difficult questions, they don't have an answer, they become very emotional. The moment you become more emotional, you start losing your crowd. The crowd, you lose them because they think you lack depth, and you're just doing kind of talking garbage, and the moment that happens, your crowd is lost. Post that question, you may have wonderful content to present, but your crowd is lost. They're not going to connect with you. So when you have tough questions, I've had a lot of scenarios where I've had very tough questions. I had absolutely no answers, but you cannot afford to get emotional. You have to stay calm, and you have to be very curious, because a lot of time questions gives you perspective that you have never explored. So first, stay calm. Be very curious to understand what is that person trying to say, instead of treating that person as a kind of a gate crasher. You have to treat that person with dignity, and treat that question with respect, to understand and see if there is something that you have a takeaway from. That's one. A second is, when we talk about tough questions, a lot of times we get questions that we don't have an answer for, and we try walking around the question. We try to kind of beat around the bush, walk around and around, run around, without answering the question specifically. And when that happens, you lose the audience again. So there are times we'll get questions, we might not have an answer completely, or we're not sure. It's okay to accept to the audience, saying, hey, you know what? This is something I'm not thought through, or maybe I don't have enough information. I'll probably come back to you. Having that openness and transparency in telling the people that you're not master of everything, and you still have a lot of areas that you have to learn, that will reduce the friction between you and the audience. The more you try to become defensive, the friction only increases. But the moment you kind of dissolve that friction by having a very honest, putting yourself in an honest place, will help you reduce the friction and make you move along the presentation without that friction with the audience. And third most important thing is, when tough questions come, people become emotional, and people lose track of the presentation. So when you're trying to close a very tough question, or a difficult question, it's always important for you to connect the final part of the answer to your core message. That core message could be to your entire presentation or the slide that you're presenting. So when you're able to connect back your core message to the end of the answer of the tough question, that automatically gives you a lead or a pathway for you to continue your presentation. If you don't have the continuity, then you're going to lose your focus, and then presentation is going to go haywire, on top of answering very tough questions already. So three important things: one, don't get emotional, stay calm and curious. Second thing is, accept when you don't know, and tell the presenter or the audience that you will come back to them, and make it a point you go back to them and provide your perspective after you've learned more about it. Third is, always have that a bridge between the question and your objective of the presentation, so you're able to go back into the presentation seamlessly.
Beautifully said. I mean, you just said those 3 points really well, being calm and curious and being very open if you don't know an answer. I think honesty is key over there, and accepting you don't know the answer if you don't know it, and tell them you'll get back to them at the end of it. And the third one is connecting their question to the either the slide or the objective of the topic, whatever you're connecting. So beautifully said. Thank you so much for that. And one last question we have for you. We all know body language plays a huge role in presentations, right? It could be our voice, the tone, body language, eye contact. I mean, you can just go with all of these things. Now, what role do you think, and to what extent does body language really influence the audience? A lot of people have questions with eye contact. I'm very particular. Some people, when we say eye contact, they're like just staring at the audience. So I just think you don't want to be staring at somebody. You look at the entire audience, and then like for a 3 second pause you can just give here and there, looking at one person's eyes but not just staring into their eyes. What is your perspective about that?
See, I think it's very important to have the right balance between, kind of connecting with your audience versus intimidating them with your connect, right? Because this is a very interesting point because, for example, I've made these mistakes a lot of times in my own, life and journey of getting too connected to an audience because you may probably have 50 people in the room and suddenly you see two people in one corner nodding their head and you stay connected with them all through your presentation. So what that means is, it gives a kind of a perspective or a thought to the others in the audience that you're not interested in them and you're only focused on kind of connecting to a very small subset of the audience group. So it's very important to have a very balanced eye contact. And I am somebody who uses their hands very much. If you see, I think open gestures is something very, very important because it helps me to become more creative. It helps me to become more persuasive and more communicative. So body language is very, very important. Voice is very, very important because I hope most of us know DJ Shiva, right? The one who acted in all this movies. If you look at his comedy, he does a lot of deadpan comedy. I think that might work to a small audience, but unless you become expressive, the comedy doesn't work, right? Similarly, any presentation, if you're not able to express yourself with the right voice, tone, or body language, you're not going to connect with the audience because the audience will feel that you're disinterested. While you may be very interested in the content that you're presenting, if your audience is not thinking that you have interest in sharing what you already know, they will never connect with you. And not having the right voice, tone, body language, or even the visuals in your presentation is like sitting in a boring movie. The first minute the movie is going to be boring. Would you spend next 2.5 hours watching the movie, or would you like to get away?
Get away.
Pay money and watch the movie. Some of us stay because there is a sunk cost fallacy that comes in, but others don't care about the money we spend. We walk off. But in a presentation, they can't because you could be a boss presenting your vision to your organization, or you're sitting in a sales meeting presenting it to a potential client. In those cases, they can't walk off because they're like married to your presentation, right? So it's very important for you to have the right tone and everything. And a lot of us know about, we must have seen the movie Hobbits, right? The moment we say smog, what is that one thing that comes? Smog the dragon, the voice.
Okay, yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch voice that comes through. Amitabh Bachchan, what is he known for? Voice. We don't have to have that kind of a bass voice, but I think kind of using your own voice to your advantage, modulating it, using the right tone, pitch, using the right body language to express positivity to your audience, and using the right visuals. Because as I said, nobody wants to look at a presentation which has nothing but a white background and a black fonted letters in it. So mixing all this together will actually make your presentation more interesting. It adds flavor to your content and it makes your story more persuasive and connecting to your audience.
True. Absolutely. I think a lot of people focus on the content that they want to deliver, that somewhere they miss the smile, they miss the small pauses, the connect with the audience. And I think a lot of times you have to read the audience eyes, right? At a point when you think they seem a little disinterested, either the voice modulation, you just change that. All of that is also really important to keep it going, right? Till the
Right.
end.
I actually use a simple technique that has worked for me when I do these presentations, right? Now, if I somehow feel that I'm losing the audience or I sense the audience seems a little disconnected, I start asking questions to them. The moment you
Yeah.
start asking questions to them, they have to connect because nobody wants to be called out in a large with question and they don't have an answer for, right? So automatically that connects the audience with you, and it makes you more engaging, right? Because if you're only focused on the presentation slide and then talking to yourself, nobody is going to listen to you. So you have to connect with your audience, and a lot of times, it's important to crack those jokes which you might not have built as part of your presentation. Some people are not very good at presentation. They build these jokes as part of their presentation flow so that they don't forget it. But if you are somebody who is very extroverted in nature, if you're fortunate enough to be an extrovert person where you can communicate easily, you can always build those small jokes on the live scenario, on the presentation, or what is happening on the floor to engage with your audience better. So having these are something very, very important, because if you're not able to make the floor lively with your content and your delivery. Content is your fact and the data that you're presenting, right? But delivery is equally important. If you're not able to curate your delivery to make the content flow seamlessly to your audience, you're losing the crowd. So it's very important to mix everything together. And for example, if you're sitting in a Japanese, a client meeting, you can't go crack jokes because their culture is very different. So you need to understand the culture of your audience. What is the audience culture? What is the areas that interest your audience? A lot of times I do presentations to my leadership team, global leadership team. At the same time, I do presentations to the campus hires that we bring in. People who are just out of college or just getting out of college. The content between leadership team to campus hire freshers can't be the same. You need to change your tone. You need to change your, you need to bring more playfulness when you're talking to students, while you have to bring a lot more professionalism when you're talking to leaders. So I think it's very
Right.
important to understand the audience and then build certain mechanisms in your presentation where you're able to meet and touch and kind of tick mark those milestones that you've built in as part of your presentation.
True. Yeah, I resonate with that. I think, asking questions and adding humor here and there goes a long way. Yes, I do adopt both of those techniques. So yeah, it's worked a lot for me. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for all the answers you gave us. And I think that was like a dictionary that we have now, with so many things. Thank you so much for that. It was really, really helpful. And I think all of us have picked up a lot of, you know, a little bit of some nuances and a lot of helpful tips from what you've shared with us. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure for me to be the panel discussion leader with you today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure, pleasure. I was able to share some things that I've learned through my, journey of 20 years. I think, if each of us have one takeaway, I think the community becomes better, and we become better more than the community.
Absolutely. And I'm sure all of us here in this group have definitely had a takeaway from you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shivaleela, for taking up wonderful panel discussion. And Suresh, sir, thank you so much for putting in the showing us the importance of even small things during the presentation, right? And I really like that why part, right? See, the why has to be really very clear before doing what. Because if the connect is not there, if you're not clear about that, it doesn't serve the purpose, right? So yes, I really like that way, and especially you asked one thing. I believe Pooja is going to ask that question as a form of a quiz, right? So I'm not going to dwell on that. So here I would like to invite Miss Pooja to share a quiz question, and let's see what people have understood in last 35 minutes. Okay. So Pooja, over to you for a quick quiz, and the winner of today's quiz will get a book written by the author, Mr. Sagar Makwana, and the name of the book is Be You Now. So, Pooja, here over to you for a quick quiz, please.
Thank you, Pankaj, and thank you, Suresh and Shivaleela. It's a very wonderful session, and it is very refreshing. And each and every point is a must to learn. So today I came up in a different way. So find the right option from the following. Use the options A, B, C, D, E, F, and here are the options. So A, storytelling is like a icing on the cake. B, presentation must not have a flow between the slides. C, presentation can have observations of the success ladders of the leaders rather than I. D, presentation should be prepared for oneself, not for the audience. E, each slide cannot have a takeaway. And F, not to understand the
Oh,
culture of the audience.
you're going five. You have six options today.
Yes. Yes. And the right answer is C. So
Oh, so
goes to
we
Ajit.
have so Mr. Ajit Kumar is going to be the winner, is it?
Yes.
So Pooja, you need to declare. I should not be
Yes,
declaring
Ajit
it.
Kumar is going to get the book. And yes, it's because I
Okay.
just wrote every important point in note form so that we will get to remember it. So, yes, thank you.
Good
And
question.
congratulations, Ajit.
We congratulate Mr. Ajit that you are going to get a book written by Mr. Sagar Makmana. The name of the book is Be You Now. And Mr. Arul will do the needful. And you also have one bonus. You can unmute yourself and ask one question to our guest, Mr. Suresh. So, Mr. Ajit, you can unmute yourself and ask one question, and then we move forward.
Hi, Mr. Suresh.
Hello, Mr.
I'm
Ajit.
audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Some people have the habit of walking up, down during a presentation. Is it good or is it distractive or
It again depends. It's a very good question. Can you actually walk so much during a presentation? I think it is very subjective, Mr. Rajat, for the simple reason that it depends on your audience, right? If for example, if you are going to present to a large group of audience, say for example, when I go for campus hires, we have about 1,000 people sitting in the particular room, and you cannot make eye contact with everybody. You probably can make eye contact with the first three, four rows of people sitting, but there are people sitting in the 25th and 30th row. So how do you connect with them? Every audience is important, right? In those cases, yes, you have to walk up and down and then connect with them, do your sessions. If it's a small professional setup, you don't have to do that because you're already in a very close, confined space. And if you kind of start walking too much, then you become very intimidating for the simple reason that you start, walking into personal spaces of people there. So again, depends on the crowd, the size of the crowd, and the audience that you're addressing.
thank you?
Okay, great. So now the forum is open for all the visitors, so we can have quick 2 to 3 questions. So anyone who would like to ask question to our guest, please feel free to unmute yourself. But we should not be exceeding more than 2 to 3 questions. So anyone who would like to ask question can unmute and ask your question. Arul, can you check if there's anyone who would like to ask question? And if not, then we can move forward.
I think all are good to go now. We can proceed.
So today everything is clear to everyone,
Yes.
right? So it has really given an what we say. People might have really learned today that what is that they were doing right, what is that they were doing wrong, and what is that they can improve, right? Even there were certain things which I feel that I've been doing it wrong way. So that's the earning for me today that I will improve it in my presentations. So thank you so much, Sureji. And we have Miss Priya Sandeep. So, Miss Priya, you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Suresh. We all have been doing trainings on presentation skills. I think even you would have done many. There are people who are totally into their shell. How do we bring them at least 5%? Yes, we try our best to give them a comfort zone, make them comfortable, but even then, some hesitate to. Uh, Just if we have to make them speak a few words.
Yeah, I think that's a nightmare for any presenter, right? Because you want to connect with a set of audience, but you have a bunch of folks who are hell-bent not open their mouth. So there are times that you might not be able to connect with the 100% of your audience, right? So there are some times that you may have to not engage with those people, but you have to look at for cues whether if these people are interested in what you're presenting as a content. Because if I'm a absurdly introvert by nature, I may like your presentation, but I don't have the confidence, or I am very fearful of communicating or having my voices, shared. So not all the time I think it's a myth that we trainers or presenters always have in mind that we have to engage the 100% of the audience. That's not going to happen all the time. But start looking for cues if these unengaging people, are they really interested in your content, or are they somebody who's not sharing their views because they are kind of stuck with fear and they are very introverted in nature. If it is about people who are very introverted in nature, they can't share their ideas or questions outright and open. You can encourage the audience to write those questions, right? Sometimes, I may have the fear of audience where I don't want to speak to people. So if you see, again, that depends what is the percentage of your crowd. If majority of your crowd is people are very introvert in nature who may have questions but not, open or keen to voice those questions out, you can then probably run a quick Q&A session where you can say, hey, take a piece of paper, write your questions and share it with me. If you want to make it anonymous, you can still make it anonymous. This way, you're giving space to everybody, and see, it's as a trainer, I think we all have that very motherly nature in us that we have to, make every introverted person as an extrovert. But let's be realistic in sense, right? You cannot change a person's character in a day. You may be seeing this person for the first time, or maybe seeing the person for the first and last time. How much of an impact you can make in that person's character by making that person extrovert? You cannot. So sometimes we have to take realistic bets and figure out if this person is somebody who is willing to learn or not willing to learn. If they're not willing to learn, my suggestion is don't engage with them. Because the more you engage with not willing to learn, you're losing your crowd which is willing to engage with you, right? So take that call and sometimes come up with innovative ways that you're able to engage with them instead of making them talk. Sometimes asking questions might help you, because if they're put in a spot, they might still end up answering your questions or ask some questions that they might have in mind. But if you think the crowd is too fearful in nature to even voice their questions, you can run those Q&A sessions over paper, and they will probably have more freedom in sharing their thoughts or asking the questions. If you want to make it, you can make it anonymous too, right? It could be an anonymous question that's getting posted. For example, if it's a webinar like this, people are more comfortable sharing their questions over a chat than actually asking it on a video, right? So provide all these mediums as possible for them to communicate their thoughts, their views, and their experiences to you.
That's a wonderful thought. Thank you. Thank you very much, Suresh.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Ms. Priya, for asking a good question. Do we have anyone else who would like to ask question? Or else I'm going to invite our summary leader, Dr. Aishwarya. So, Dr. Aishwarya, over to you for our quick summary. Welcome. Your voice.
You're not audible, Aishwarya. You're not audible. Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, all. Good evening. This is me, Dr. Aishwarya. Hello. Arul, am I audible,
Yes,
Arul?
yes.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Yes, please continue. Please continue.
Yes. Thank you, Suresh. You have given a very convincing presentation to us today. Without PPTs, you have given the delightful presentation to us today. It was very much engaging. So let me summarize the points that has been given by you. So persuasive presentation is like where the speaker's main goal is to convince the audience with their thoughts and presentation. So storytelling plays a vital role while presenting these slides, because sometimes even a single slide can tell the whole story of the content. So we should create a slides. More than the slides, we should connect with the slides. And watching a good presentation is like watching a series of movie. It is very important to know that what audiences really need. At every slides, we have to give takeaways. Every slide should be interrelated and connected as well. More than the color, the data are so important. So we should very clear in content. If you're sharing the real-time experience, it is good. And you can also use third parties reference as well. Depending the audience, you can allocate the questions to each slides, or also you can keep questions at the end of the session. So when presenting the slides, we have to keep three things to be remember. When somebody is asking questions, three things has to be noted. Don't get emotionally stuck. Be in a settled way. If you don't convince with them, you just tell them, I'll be answering to your question later, or else at the end of the slide, and create a bridge between your slides and to the goal. Every slide should be connected with each and every slides. And it is very important to have a balanced eye contact with everyone. Body language and voice is more important while presenting. Maybe you are interested in sharing the things, but if you are not connected with them, if the content will not be delivered in a good manner. So if you want to connect with them before preparing the slides, understand the audience culture and their thoughts and their needs. So I have, this is the summary. Thank you so much for giving.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aishwarya, for a wonderful summary. Okay. And
Thank
as we
you.
move forward, I would like to invite Miss Priya for the vote of thanks as we are coming closer to the end of the session. So, over to you, Miss Priya, for the vote of thanks, and then we'll have the vote of thanks video.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Once again, I'm Priya Sandeep, a soft skills trainer and a motivational speaker. Getting to know about persuasive presentation, yes, definitely plays an important role, not just for trainers, but anybody, like you said, managers, anybody in any field. That's quite important for everybody. First, let me quickly share once again the purpose of this thriving leadership community. Leaders Connect 360 Foundation is a non-profit organization aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. We are a hybrid model leadership community bringing together leaders every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m., where experts in their fields provide solutions to real-time leadership challenges, just like what we had today, your valuable insights, sir. And we received today, and from our esteemed guest, Mr. Suresh. Every last week of the month, we take a deep dive into knowledge by inviting authors to share insights from their books, helping us grow as leaders and lifelong learners. I extend my deepest gratitude to our esteemed guest, Mr. Suresh, for his thought-provoking insights, our wonderful panel discussion leader, Ms. Shivaleela, and our dynamic moderator, Mr. Pankaj, for leading such a valuable discussion today. And now, as a token of appreciation, we present a special thank you video to express our gratitude. See you next Wednesday. Until then, keep leading and keep growing.
Thank you, Ms. Priya. Thank you so much. Arul, can we have the thanking video, please? Thank you so much, Arul. So here we come to an end of our session. So Suresh, sir, thank you so much for being there. And we would also like you to be part of this community. Okay. So whenever possible, please be there with us. And we look forward for, your support for taking this community to the next level. Thank you so much.
The pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me here.